This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish, founder of Abish Financial Services.
And I'm Heather Branch, here with Abe, talking about ways to help you better prepare for your financial future. RetirementKeyRadio.com is where you can go to begin your own conversation with Abe and his team at Abish Financial Services. Again, that's RetirementKeyRadio.com. Meanwhile, here we are. Well, you know, I feel like we wait all year for summer, and then every time we get to the end of May, we say to ourselves, how is it already summertime? Yeah. It's how we gauge ourselves.
The seasons are quick here. There's not a lot of gap in between the seasons here. Like, you've got nice 70 to 80 degree weather when it's nice in April and May, and then all of a sudden, boom, June, 100 degrees, 99 in the 90s, and it's hot and humid. That's how it is here in D.C. And then you go from fall to winter, and it's like, oh my God, where'd 20 degree weather come from? You know, we couldn't even get our pipes closed quick enough. You know, this past winter, it got cold pretty quick.
It did. It's a bit of a roller coaster. It's always a bit of a race against time. I guess that's just the lessons that life can teach us. Nobody will relate to that statement better than somebody who is getting ready to finally enter into retirement, hopefully doing so confidently. That is obviously the goal of these conversations we have here each week, Abe. There are some retirement savers that are listening who have already had a financial advisor work with them on something, whether it was the growth phase, maybe they've even sought some retirement advice. But there are a lot of folks that have a feeling their advisor may be missing something. So one idea that you harp on a lot here on this program is the idea of somebody to get a second opinion, which is something you offer at Abish Financial Services. So how does that work? What are some of the common things you see when running a second opinion over somebody's retirement savings?
Yeah, great question, Heather. The biggest thing that I think we see when we offer a couple or someone that's single or divorced, widowed, a complimentary second opinion on whatever they've done for their retirement is that people getting close to retirement, typically 5 years or less away, or are already in retirement, are continuing to invest like they did when they were in their 40s and 50s, meaning they're taking on still way too much risk. And I'll give you an example or two during this show where we see couples coming in with 90-something% in stocks. Like, are you kidding me? You're 65?
Yeah.
You're going to quit working and you're invested like I am right now? I mean, I'm 43, you know? If you're telling me you want to retire on January 1st, with 6 months until you fully retire and your wages are going to end and you're investing as if you were 20 years ago. Huge disconnect, right? You're still acting like you're in the accumulation phase when you're telling me you're retiring in 6 months. Huge disconnect, huge way that we help people when they come in and get second opinions is just, man, then they don't know what to do, right? All they know is what's worked the last 20 years, and that was pedal to the metal and maxing out their accounts and investing and taking on a lot of risk. And thankful for that bull market of over a decade. But, you know, all of a sudden that changed last year when the Federal Reserve did the opposite, and they raised rates 7 times in 2022 and 3 times this year and tightened and pulled $100 billion out of the economy every month. So we got to have a plan for the good times and bad. You want to think about safety valves wrapped all over your life savings, that moat around the castle, that protection, man, avoiding large loss and protecting what you've worked the last 40 years to build is crucial as you transition into the distribution phase, that phase 2 plan. So we just had a couple call in and get a second opinion. And specifically, this couple called in to get a second opinion, Heather, because they wanted a pension analysis done. The husband had a pension, had pension options at this private company he worked for over 30 years. And he thought that he had the normal pension options, you know, just single life, joint life. And if it was joint life, 100% joint life, 50% joint life, 75% joint life, etc. They are in their mid-60s. They're in Winchester, Virginia, just about 45 minutes from us. And they're retiring in 3 years. They have $1 million saved and then this pension decision to make.
Okay.
So they come in. They bring in their pension documents, their Social Security statements, their IRA and 401k statements, and we did an analysis on all of it to include that pension analysis. You will never believe what we discovered when we did their pension analysis, and they were floored.
Okay.
This guy, Heather, had an option to take a lump sum out of his pension, and he had no idea. Now, mind you, they have $1 million saved, so decent job of saving, right? We discovered, by them coming in to having a second opinion done and having this pension analysis done, we discovered, and this doesn't happen all the time, $1.5 million, $1.5 million in a pension lump sum option sitting there for him to possibly take.
You are kidding.
And roll over. And this was discovered by our senior investment advisor, Patrick Volk. And as he was doing the analysis, he found this. Can you imagine thinking you have $1 million saved and then all of a sudden you come in for a second opinion and your $1 million of accumulation is now potentially $2.5 million?
And they had no idea this money was sitting in this pension account?
They had no idea.
I mean, that's like winning the lottery.
That they had this pension lump sum option available to them, because when you're looking through this document that's 50 pages, unless you know what to really look for, you could easily miss it, right?
Yeah.
So if you are listening right now and you know that you have a pension decision to make, just pick up the phone and call us as soon as we give you the opportunity to do that, so we can provide you a pension analysis, right? And so their problem and the concerns, Heather, was that they had this pension analysis and decision to make here in the next few years and wanted to get the decision right. Mm-hmm. They had no idea that this $1.5 million was sitting there in a lump sum. And I'll tell you, more often than not, Heather, it does make sense to take the pension lump sum, roll it over into a traditional IRA and invest it on your own or purchase your own annuity, do something to create guaranteed income that the pension could have provided. Mm-hmm. Because if you do that and you take the lump sum and you invest it on your own, now you have the cash available. Yeah. It's liquid or partially liquid. You have a death benefit. You have growth of this money. Where if you left it in the pension plan, once that decision's made, you've made that decision the rest of your life. You can't take it back. You can't reverse it. And you'll never have access to those funds again, versus everything I just described, having access, having a potential death benefit, growth of the funds, and all these things. So we recommended taking the lump sum. Their life savings went up in our meeting from $1 million to $2.5 million. And I'll tell you, that does not happen all the time.
Right.
But it happened for this couple simply from coming in for a complimentary second opinion on their total retirement plan. This is distribution talk. This is distribution planning. This is not accumulation planning. Right? The accumulation advisor that they were working with didn't discover this. So if you're listening right now and you have a pension decision to make, if you sound a little bit like this couple in Winchester and you've got a pension decision coming down the pike, go to retirementkeyradio.com, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to have these same conversations with you as well.
All right. So coming off that amazing story about how that couple just discovered this pension lump sum they had no idea was available unto them, and thinking about other opportunities you might not realize are available to you. The conversation around inflation, obviously, Abe, has been nonstop the past couple of years. And seeking opportunities with inflation rates like this is what the author of best-selling book Rich Dad, Poor Dad is seeking. Robert Kiyosaki was telling CNBC that he likes commodities in this economic environment. Here he is.
So I just stay in things that as inflation goes up, gold goes up, real estate goes up, gasoline goes up, and food goes up. So I invest with the inflation, not against it.
It's all about changing with the times, rolling with the tide, Abe. Have you adjusted your investment strategies because of the economy? And if so, how?
Yes, we have, Heather, and yet you have to just keep up, right? Inflation was in between 9 and 10%. Now it's down to, it looks like in between 5 and 6, and it's cooling off, but it's still a lot higher than what's normal. What's normal is usually between 2.5 to 3.5. And although it's the Federal Reserve's number one goal to get inflation under control, right now it's higher than normal. It's concerning for people. It might remain sticky, and it might stay higher than normal for a longer period of time. And it's a concern for, I would say, most people that come into our office and meet with us. And it was a concern for this couple that came in from Frederick, Maryland to visit with us. And they're in their early 60s out of Frederick, Maryland. They have $1.5 million saved. Mm-hmm. They're a 5 on our risk scale, just moderate, middle of the road investors. Mm-hmm. And their biggest concern, Heather, was long-term inflation that would remain sticky, right? That would not come down and cool down. And is there $1.5 million coupled with Social Security and their other resources enough to last them 30 more years? I mean, most people, a lot of our clients are going to live into their 80s and a lot of them into their 90s. Yeah. And our clients know that. And it's a retiree's number one concern in retirement, that they're going to outlive their money, that their money may not last as long as they do. So, and then when you factor in inflation that's in between 5 and 6% right now and not down in the 2s and 3s, mm-hmm. then your investment's got to work a lot harder. And if you're being too risky, you can have large loss. And if you're being too conservative, you can't keep up with inflation. So what gives? Well, you ask, what are we doing differently? There are several things we're doing differently this year to try to tackle inflation. And so I went through all of the solutions that we have available to them. We talked about stocks. Typically, stocks keep up with long-term inflation, as do growth-focused ETFs. We even have factored in structured notes, which can allow our clients to potentially make money when the markets are up or down, which is a nice hybrid solution. And then we have safe instruments as well that provide principal guarantees that should keep up with long-term inflation. Typically, they make between maybe 4 and 6% with principal guarantees. So we showed them that, hey, we have all the tools in the toolkit. It's a matter of putting together a proper plan for this next season of your lives and not just investing in pure stocks, because avoiding large loss, being diversified, and having added peace of mind. And we call it sleep insurance sometimes, right? You need to be able to go to sleep and sleep well at night when you're retired and not worry about the stock market when it's and what CNBC is saying. So for any of you listening right now that are 60 years old and older, that have saved $750,000 or more for your retirement, and you are concerned with inflation, you're concerned that inflation might remain sticky and high, and that your investments aren't keeping up with inflation currently, go to retirementkeyradio.com. Click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page. We can begin to have this same exact conversation with you. Again, that's at retirementkeyradio.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish. To learn more about Abish Financial Services, visit retirementkeyradio.com. And join Abe for his radio show, The Retirement Key, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m. on WMAL.
Investment advisory services offered through Abish Financial Wealth Management, LLC, number 310633, a registered investment advisor firm. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Abraham Abish is licensed in your state, please call 571-577-9968. Abish Financial Services is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Abish Financial Services, Inc., Virginia Insurance License number 127820.